What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? Welcome back. Today we're working on my terminal emulator. His name is Termi, and we've been on him for a couple weeks now. We've got something that like kind of works, so like check out this sick resize, font resizing. Oh baby, that's kind of new. We have something that kind of works. Let's try to get this a little bit more reasonable. Okay. So we can get log, we have colors, we have scrolling, less kind of works. I've been noticing a few bugs with it, but mostly works. You can clear, and that's mostly it. We're running programs, right? There's a few things that aren't working as well as we'd like, but we're getting somewhere that's almost usable. Well, I shouldn't say almost usable, because if I start up something more complicated like NeoVim, I get this weird behavior where I try to go into insert mode, insert some stuff, it doesn't work. Now I enter escape and I hit Q all, and it's something about it, there's a lot that's not implemented yet, right? My cursor ends up in the wrong spot, kind of. There's a few bugs, but we're starting to get somewhere. At least we can run normal commands, right? And what we've been kind of working on for the past few streams is working on improving bash support. So stuff like this where it scrolls off the edge of the screen and it intelligently gets the end. This behavior depends on a bunch of capabilities that your terminal emulator claims it has. So if you say if I go info comp, this guy says, let me get the font a little smaller here. Here we go. Here is the things that my terminal emulator claims that he supports. And if we compare that to something like Xterm, Xterm supports a lot more things than my terminal does. And so bash will look at these capabilities, and these are lists of things that either we will say to it, or it should say to us to do specific actions, right? So if he wants to move the cursor up, he might so we look up cursor up. What is that command? Oh, it's escape square bracket, some bullshit, and then an A, right? He'll look that up in the term info and then do it. And so if we don't have some capabilities, then bash will take shortcuts to try to achieve reasonable behavior, but it won't behave as well. So we've been kind of working on just working through and adding the things that bash needs. And in the process of that, the other day, we were implementing a character insertion. So you can basically expand out an area of text. And we noticed that our color tracking doesn't ever handle insertions in the middle of data. So we have some buffer of text, and he says A, S, D, F, new line, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we look at this buffer and we say okay, well, this stuff was blue. So we'll track position 1, 2, 3, 4 to 8, we'll say that's blue, and then we'll say that all of this other stuff was default color in this area. But then what happens if we try to insert some data into here? Say we want to go back to the first line and pad it out. So we would actually change the buffer positions here, and all of this stuff gets shifted forwards, but we don't ever update this color tracking information. And so we have to look at that. I've only noticed that from in code, so we kind of want to prove that needs to be done at all. So first we should probably look at how can we reproduce this bug, and if we manage to reproduce it, how do we fix it? And then I also noticed that at some point we implemented a scrollback. So if I type some stuff, maybe we make the font a little bigger. There's stuff that's currently on screen that's kind of shown in purple here, and then there's stuff that's kind of in the past that's shown in yellow. And so all cursor movements are kind of relative to this purple area. So if I do something echo-E and I say, hey, could you move the cursor to position 1, 1, the first row and column? I think that's this. Oh, maybe it's 0, 0. Something about that doesn't feel quite right. Yeah, okay, so okay, that doesn't quite give me confidence. Maybe it's 0, 0. No, that crashes. Okay, so there's something slightly wrong there with the highlighting, but it's supposed to be that all moves are relative to that position. And in some cases, so let's go back to that echo. Oopsies, that was the one that crashed us. Fuck. That's a bug, by the way. That shouldn't happen. So we say echo -E escape here. Go to the first row and column. Oh, maybe it's because bash is putting a new line in there. If we say like ASDF, there we go. That is working. Okay, so we can like move the cursor around and replace stuff at the beginning of the buffer. Great, right? But what was I saying? Oh yeah, some actions do not correctly respect that. So some actions will actually act as if they're like relative to this point back in the scrollback instead of this point at the beginning of the buffer. So we have to fix that as well. So that's the plan for today. Fix those, and if we get through all of that, then we'll just kind of jump back on to improving like read line support in Bash. But we'll see how it goes. Okay. So let's go to where we saw that bug. So we have like this like terminal buffer, and somewhere we noticed. Yes. So here we like insert some data into the buffer. We like get some data that like was sent to us by Bash. We stick it into our buffer, and then he says like, hey, here is some stuff. Here, hold on. Jump. Language server, hello. LSP info, are you running? You are, okay. Holy crap, I've never seen this happen before. This is weird, I've never seen this. There we go, okay. So I jump to here. This guy says, hey, this is where within the buffer that I wrote, and this is where you should move the cursor to. And then we take that stuff and we say, okay, hey, color tracker, like formatting data. Hey, keep track of like, we just wrote to this area and now we update the cursor position. But the problem is we don't distinguish between if we inserted new data, in which case like all things later than that data have to be like pushed forward. Because, right, like if we insert data here, all of these indexes for all numbers past that point increase. And we don't distinguish between that and overwriting, right? So either if we wrote here and we say our written range was like this, and now that is like red, right? It could be this, or it could be that like we inserted a new range in here that was like red, and all of this has to move forward. So to distinguish between those two cases. And so I guess we should kind of start trying to look for like a repro of some form. How can we prove that? And it looks like, just by drawing this out, it seems like the simple repro here is to adjust a line that was ended early. So we could probably try something like, okay, let's increase the font size here. We say what, like echo-ne. Okay, cool. And we can say, what do we want to do? Like maybe we want to like change the color to red. I think that's how you do this. 31 red. Hello. Oops. Yeah, okay, so that's red, and then we want to reset to, so we say, fuck, I can't backspace over a new line, I guess. I guess that's not supported, so. We want to reset the color, which I think you do like this. Yeah, that just seems like it's working. So that says red ASDF and then resets. Okay, and then we probably want to do like a new line here and do ASDF again. So we have 2 red ASDFs, but maybe we want like the second one. There's something wrong here. I'm seeing some bug here, which is kind of fun. I wonder what that is. Something, I can't even feel like what's missing. I just know that like sometimes I'm changing my cursor location. It doesn't feel right. So I'll have to come back to that. But let's say that the first ASDF is red and the second one is blue. So we'll see, maybe 32. I don't know what color 32 is. Okay, we'll make it red, then green. Oh, it's probably because, I think I know what it is. It's related to the fact that I am saying don't write a new line at the end. I bet that's related, but we'll see. Okay, so now I think that if we go back in time here and we say, wait, is the stream only F for me? It looks okay on my side. I have Twitch open and it looks like it's showing stuff. How effed is it? Can you not hear? I guess you can't, if I ask that question, you can't answer. What's effed about it? It seems fine to me. Okay. So maybe maybe we go back in time a little bit. After we write the red and green, we want to say go back up a line, which I can't remember the ANSI code for, or if we support it. So maybe I actually have to look at our source code and see what cursor move commands do we support. So we can look at our ANSI parser. Why did that give me an error? Okay, it's fine, it's fine. So we're looking for what type of cursor moves we support. We support set cursor position only in absolute terms, I guess. We don't support any relative cursor movements right now. So in order to run this test, we're going to have to get a little creative. And we'll have to say, like, okay, I'm going to put the cursor in an absolute position. And we're just going to know that it's going to be the second row that we care about. So we'll go to like row or column 4, row 2. And then we'll write ASDF. Maybe row 1. Why does that not work? Maybe we need to write 1, 2, 3, 4 or something to distinguish. What the fuck did I do? Okay, let's try again. Okay, and then as the last step, we need to put the cursor back down to where it's supposed to be. So we have to say go to column 0, row 5 or something. That crashed. Sick. That's not what I wanted. $7TV extension hates your stream in particular for some reason. What the fuck is 7TV? Web app lets you manage hundreds of emails for your Twitch or YouTube channels. Oh, interesting. I don't have anything like that. That's weird. Weird. Okay, so what? Oh, because I'm not allowed to write 0 here. I have to write 1. It's 1 indexed. Okay. And, okay, I think that this is proof of the bug, I think. So I think what's supposed to happen is, with this ASDF down here, was green before, and it's supposed to stay green. Because I wrote ASDF up at the top in red. Then I wrote, maybe we'll do one more thing. We'll put the 1, 2, 3, 4 in blue. Or, well, I don't really know what color. We'll say color 33, whatever the fuck that is. Aha, okay, cool. So the sequence here is write ASDF in red, then ASDF in green, then go back and write 1, 2, 3, 4 in yellow. And what's happening there is the green is not being correctly updated here. The green is getting like kind of slurped into this 1, 2, 3, 4 because it ate some of the like indexes there. So I'm pretty sure that's right. What we should be seeing is ASDF should be totally green. Cool. So we have a repro. And what we can do is we can just start looking at what we think the bug fix should be. So when we insert data, just like insertion response, he says like a written range, but maybe this should be like it should return both a written range and like a insertion range or something. Yeah, that seems right. Insertion range. Range usize. I just downloaded the app. It's insanely fast. Holy shit. What app? The app. Like the extension this guy's talking about in chat, or are you talking about something that we're writing, like the app, terminal application we're writing on stream? Okay, so you have written range, and maybe we call this like overwritten range. So this range will tell us things that like were indexes that were previously in the buffer and are now new. Yeah, Termi. Oh, nice. Well, I mean, I think that things are always fast when they suck. I think. But appreciate it. Yeah, it'll get slower as we add features. For sure. But I do think that a lot of software I feel is a lot slower than it should be on machines. So maybe we'll keep it reasonable. Okay, so we should comment these and say range of indexes in buffer. The backspace is writing some garbage characters. Is that normal? Probably not. As like I think for me, well, okay, so let's just say that I don't know if anything is really connected. Oh fuck, I can't run. Git stash. Cargo run. So for me, if I type backspace, it does backspace. If I remember correctly, we say somewhere that we have like a backspace character. Maybe we just type the del command. I can't remember. But no, I don't think that's normal. But I've also never seen anybody else run it, so who knows? Maybe it's normal that it's broken, you know? Okay. So what we're doing. Wait, why didn't my stash written range insertion? Oh, I didn't save this. This is overwritten range. And then here I wanted to say I wrote something, deleted until nothing is left, and after that then backspace writes garbage. Oh, that doesn't surprise me. I've never tried that. That doesn't shock me at all, actually. Okay, so the overwritten range we'll say is a range of written data that replaces existing data. And range of written data that is new. Note this will shift all data after it. Okay, that seems reasonable. And now we can just start compiling and see where it's broken. Okay, so on insertion, what do we do? We pad the buffer for writing, then we copy the shit in. Okay, which is kind of like, so if we have like a buffer, boom, 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 right? This is like kind of like the 2D representation of like what we're trying to do, right? Say we have like our cursor here, and we're like, I want to write some data over here. But this thing is like actually backed by like ASDF, and then like maybe a new line. And so like this is all of the data that's like in our buffer. So we basically pad it by basically saying like we just like inject new lines until we hit the row that the cursor's on, and then we inject spaces until there's like area enough to write, right? Because like the backing for this 2D grid is actually like just a normal string. And so probably what we should do is when we're padding, we should keep track of like, did we do this? And so maybe like insertion range is maybe, I don't know if this is quite correct. This is like, this includes padding that was previously not there. E.g., new lines needed to get to the requested row for writing. I'll have to think about the wording there a little bit earlier, but for now it's fine. So this buffer padding, this returns right now only the index where we should write. But maybe pad buffer for write response, maybe we return the write IDX as use size, so where to copy data into. But maybe we can also say padding, inserted padding. And this is going to be like a range of use sizes. He's going to say indexes where we added data. Yeah, and so this guy's going to return that instead. Pad buffer for write response. Which means that any time that we inserted anything, we just have to count it. Okay. So we'll say that I guess like theoretically, this could be multiple spots, but I don't think that that will happen in practice. I guess we'll think about it for now. I think like, okay, so there's kind of like two cases here, right? There's like, you wrote ASDF new line and you want to write like down here. So what this case is that when you're inserting in Y, you're always padding new lines at the bottom of the buffer. But if all of this already exists and you're inserting in X only, then you're putting spaces in this location. So, but I guess like you're always starting from the same spot. So can we like find the buffer position of the cursor? Okay, well, I guess we need to track this. So I guess in this case we'll say let start buff pause, where in the buffer we were like inserting into is equal to none, I guess, because we don't really know where we're starting until we start pushing something. In this case, we know that we are at the end of the buffer. So we can say like if cursor pause dot y plus 1 is greater than the line ranges on screen. Maybe we'll say, oh, we could even say like let additional vertical new line vertical padding needed. Ooh, I don't know if I like that. But this is cursor pause dot y plus 1 minus visible line ranges dot len. Except that you can't do this if this is not bigger. So you need to say if cursor pause dot y plus 1 is greater than visible line ranges dot len, it's this, else it's 0. Okay? And so here we can say for blank in 0 to vertical padding needed. And now we can also say if vertical padding needed is not equal to 0, start buff pause is equal to buff len. Yeah, that sounds right. Okay, then we push in the stuff, and otherwise the start part is like where we're inserting horizontally. So now if the thing is set, we're either we would have to be in this like case where we're inserting like here if it's unset, in which case the insertion start is this desired start. No, it's going to be the number of spaces. This is where we're inserting. Buffer insert actual end plus I. We insert buffers. What the fuck is this? Buffer insert, what does this do? He inserts an element at position index within the vector, shifting all elements to the right. I see. So the actual end is where we're starting to insert. Yes. So we can say if start buff pause is none, he is inserting at the current actual end of the line. Okay. Cool. So now we can say start buff pause equal to start buff pause expect, and say start buff pause is guaranteed or should be be guaranteed initialized by this point, okay? And now our return is like the insertion range is, I guess, how much padding we added, which we haven't been counting. So I guess here we have to say like padding num inserted characters is equal to 0. We need to keep track of that. And so now every time we push here, we say num inserted characters plus equals 1. And the same thing here. I guess we don't even do it that way. We can just say num inserted characters plus equals vertical padding needed. We've already tracked that. And then down here, we say num inserted characters plus equals number of spaces that we're inserting. Cool. Cool. And so now we should be able to say that like the response is that the right index is the desired where we wanted to start writing, what like the person requested of us, and the inserted padding is going to be from start buff pause to num inserted characters plus start buff pause. Maybe. Fix me. Unit test insertion response. Okay. So assuming that that is correct, we can look at where this guy's used, and here we can say pad response is this guy, and here we have, maybe we even just do this. We say let you can do like some sort of like destructuring here. It was like pad buffer for write response, write idx inserted padding. You can do this and you get those like variables the way they were before. So now write ADX is all reasonable. And now we just say overwritten range. The overwritten range is different than the inserted padding. Okay, so insertion range is inserted padding, right? And the overwritten range is just going to be from the right index. Oh, we already have this, right range. So this is where we put data in, this is where we inserted padding. And so these two things might overlap, but that's okay. That's okay, I think. We'll find out. Okay. And now we can look at 405. So he's doing the same shit. He's using pad buffer for write. When we set the window size, we're just trying to make sure that the padding is correct, which means that the set win size response actually needs to tell us the range that he inserted characters. He's not actually inserting anything, but he might be affecting the positions of any coloring, because if we like resized and we need to like insert data so that the cursor can be like, okay, in this resize case, we have like ASDF \n, and maybe we have like \n, \n, and then like green ASDF over here. When we resize the window, we actually like keep track of where the cursor is relative to like the data in the buffer. And then when we resize, we just like move the cursor to where it would have wrapped to, right? Because imagine like you make this window like really small so that like all of this stuff up here like wraps more aggressively. So the ASDF takes like 2 lines or something. Then you need to like know that you need to move the cursor down 1 to keep it in the same spot. And so we like convert it into buffer position, which means that like before, in this case, like there is no buffer position for the cursor. So before we resize the window, we actually like take this new line and like move it over here, right? So that the cursor has like a spot in the buffer that's like real. But that just means that that will fuck up the green down here, because it's like, oh shit, like my index in the buffer where green is just actually changed. So we do have to handle that here. And so here we'll just say, hey, here's where we inserted data. And I think that that's simple. I think this is just pad response is equal to this. We can say let buff pause equal to pad response dot write index, and let inserted padding is equal to pad response dot insert padding. Great. And then here we can say insertion range is inserted padding. Great. Great. And here, if we returned early because there's no work to be done, we just say the insertion range was none. That seems reasonable. There is no insertion. So this is going to be option, right? Maybe we didn't insert any padding here. Yeah. Well, or it can just be an empty range. That seems reasonable. We'll just do that instead. We'll just say 0 to 0 or something. I think that's fine. Okay. So who else uses this guy? 1, 2. Here's another usage here. And insert spaces. So when inserting spaces, this is a case where let's see if our memory is like correct. So if I say echo-e, and then I say like ASDF, I get 2 sets of ASDFs. And then I want to say like, okay, move the cursor back by 4. So 4D, I think, and then write 1, 2, 3, 4. That should replace a second ASDF with 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. But what if we wanted to like insert 1, 2, 3, 4 in the middle instead of just replacing the existing ASDF? There's a command that says like, hey, could you please insert 4 spaces before I write the 1, 2, 3, 4? Nope. Was it add? Yeah, there it is. And so if I do this and I say like, hey, could you insert some shit before that? He like pushes all the data to the right. And so I could actually say like insert like 12 spaces, and now this ASDF's all the way over here. But the 1, 2, 3, 4 didn't overwrite everything. And the idea is that like you want to insert data, so you say allocate some space for me, essentially. And so that's what this function's doing. And so here we aren't using this same pad buffer for write, but we are actually explicitly tracking overwriting versus inserting, because it's not always inserting, because if your thing is like really narrow, and say I said insert 100 spaces, that ASDF just gets pushed all the way off the screen and like disappears. It's like gone, because it's like off screen. Wow, hey, there's like some resizing bugs in console too. I just saw like a fucking I can't reproduce it, but I definitely saw something that wasn't supposed to be there, like down below. Just kind of interesting. Okay, so I think probably, so our overwritten range is this same thing, and insertion range is just going to be, where do we insert? At buff pause. So we're gonna say buff pause to buff pause plus num inserted. Might be right. Definitely needs a unit test. Unit test insertion range. Because this is fucking sketchy. I'm not 100% on that. Definitely not. And in this case, so what do we say? We say, hey, is there a cursor position? Where in the buffer is the cursor currently? And if there is some location, then we do this complicated logic. Otherwise, we just pad the buffer so that we can get there. So I think this should look the same as insert data. So this is overwritten range is the same. And insertion range is right. No, we don't know that this is, this is pad buffer for write response. He has a write IDX and an inserted padding. There we go. Okay. Cool. So now we're just looking at usages at 429. Nope. Terminal emulator mod 429. Here we're looking at, so we inserted some data. We have this like overwritten range that we want to put stuff in, which is great. But we should also say, what do we want to do here? We want to say like, insert range adjustment. No. I don't know what to call this. Like, this is pushing a range of like, this is pushing a range of color data. But here we're kind of wanting to say like, push insertion or something. Push range adjustment. We have like a delete function on here. What do we call that? We have that delete range. And so maybe we'll just say adjust. Yeah, push range adjustment. I don't know. I'm not really happy with that name. But this is supposed to be like, okay, I'm telling you we inserted some data here. So this is response.insertion range. Yup. And what this guy will do is he should just push all of the color data forwards. So we can say like pub function push range adjustment. And we don't really need the cursor thing here. We just need the range. And so like, what do we expect to happen here? This guy is going to move all tags greater than range start to range start plus range length or something. I guess that's what we want. Although one of the ranges, like, we can't have any gaps in the coloring data, I don't think. No gaps in coloring data. So which range eats the existing one? I guess the one before. Or the one after. One range must... No gaps in the coloring data, so one range must expand instead of just be adjusted. Okay. So that's something like... for item in mute self color info. Call it info. If info.end is less than or equal to range start, there's nothing to do. But otherwise, we are going to say range or info start plus equals range length. So we'll say let range len is equal to range end minus range start. So say this is plus equals range length and end is plus equals range length. Great. And so now there's only one other case that we have to handle, which is what if we are the first one? So it's like, if ranges overlap info start to info end and the range, and they overlap in a specific way. Range starts overlapping. If and be overlap like this. So I guess if range ends overlapping. Yeah, so here we're saying, hey, if the range that you're inserting in is like overlapping mine, so that like I started before you started, but you end after I end. Is that the only case? I don't think so. Because there's this overlap where you have one is fully enclosed by the other. So in this case, say that this is my info, and this is where I inserted extra data. So in this case, I would just pad this out more. Okay. So maybe we'll do this. If ranges overlap at all, if range fully contains, and we're going to say that the info start, I guess we'll make the let info range is equal to info start to info end. That will make some of this easier. We don't have to type that over and over again. We can say info range.clone here. I think he needs it. And this guy, we can say and info range. So if you could refactor contains. To what? To what? So if we fully contain, but isn't range like what's the refactor you're suggesting? Like range fully contains, you're saying that I could change the name by refactor? Or are you saying that there's like something else I should do? Yeah, rename. Oh, to contains? But I feel like fully contains indicate like I in my mind, A contains part of B here in this scenario. And here it like fully contains B. But if B like started like over here, it would still contain it, just not the whole thing. That's why I named it that way, but I could see an argument for that not being necessary. So if my info range fully contains the insertion range, then I just have to say that my end plus equals range len. Okay. Else if range starts overlapping, which is A starts after B. So we can say the range starts after info range. This should be like this. Oops. Then in that case, what are we doing? This is the case where we have this, and we are inserting here. So I guess here it's again info end plus equals range len. Because now this is going to turn into this essentially. Okay, so this is the same. Good to know. And there's also the other way where this is what we have. Okay. And this is what we inserted. So in this case, if we're inserting before our start, we need to push both the start and end forward, I guess. Yes, that makes sense. So else if range ends overlapping range and info range. This is just both the start and end. And I think there's one more case here. Range starts, range ends, range fully contains. Oh, and the other way, the range fully contained this way. So we inserted something larger, and in that case, we just go again as well. So we just swap range and info range. And I'm pretty sure in this case, it's both. And I think that this gets actually boiled down into a much simpler case. I think it's just that if info start is greater than range start, we adjust both the start and the end because we're inserting before our range. Because like really the range that we're inserting where it starts is like a singular point that everything else is getting expanded from. Otherwise, we only adjust the end, I think. Because the start is inside our section. I'm pretty sure that's right. We'll just fix me unit test. But for now, we can say, okay, we pushed a range adjustment. And I also don't like the name here of overwritten range because this is just the like actual written range. So we can say like written range, whether like because it might overlap with the insertion range, it doesn't really matter. And we should also say range of written data after insertion of padding. That makes sense. So we push the insertion range, then we push the written range. Cool. And I think, is that it? There's probably one more. No, we're done. We're done. Okay, so let's just do the sanity test, and we'll run our little test where we said ASDF in red. Oh, okay. Well, we can't even launch in format tracker. In format tracker, attempt to add with overflow. Oh, once again, if info, there's like a sentinel value that says like, hey, we're at the end of, like, we go to the end of time, and we just have to not adjust that sentinel value. I've made this mistake so many times, which makes me think that maybe it should be like its own type or something, but you know, whatever. We'll try again. We will try again. Okay, so we will clear, and we'll increase the font size, and we will clear again. And we had that echo somewhere. Not that one. Fuck. We have to look for our test case here. It was like probably this. Yeah, that looks like it. Okay. Look at that! So that's a big improvement. The green on the second ASDF did stay after the yellow 1, 2, 3, 4 was inserted. And that's not what happened before, right? If we git status, git add-u, git commit-m, smiley face, git checkout, back by 1, and run it again. So on the old code, whoop. This same thing, the green ASDF like did not stay green. And so it looks like we might have fixed it. We might have. Although I know that there's other places where this is an important distinction. So let's look at the rest of these. So set cursor pause, no. Clear forwards, no. Clear all, no. Well, yeah, clearing is fine. Doesn't matter. New line, backspace, delete, insert spaces. This is the one I was looking for. So this insert spaces returns terminal buffer insert response. And so this needs to do the same thing, where he needs to have the written range and the insertion range. And we're going to just name this guy written range with 2 E's temporarily, just so that the compiler will tell us where he's used. And this is again, didn't we already fix this? I remember looking at this. Am I high? Didn't we fucking write in here? Did I just not write the fucking... I thought we did this already. I'm high, but... Yeah, we definitely did, because we said that the insertion range here was buff pause to buff pause plus num inserted. We must have lost this at some point. Maybe when I tried to get stash and get stash pop. Are you writing your own terminal editor to learn because you wanted a custom one for yourself? Maybe a little column A, a little column B. Definitely more for learning, but if it gets to the point where it's usable, then it's kind of fun to just have control of my own software. But we'll see. Maybe I'll use it. Who knows? Did I go back to my current code? That would do it. Good eye, good eye. I just didn't go back to the tip. That would do it. Okay. Okay. Nice. So now our insert response. Yeah, this is making more sense. This is making more sense. So we can go back to our terminal, term mod. Here we go. And here, when we insert spaces, we have to do the same thing. Self format tracker, push range adjustment, response insertion range. There we go. And I guess we could just say anywhere we're pushing range, we probably have to do the same thing. Except for here, that makes sense. Clear forwards, that makes sense to just not deal with it. Clear all also makes sense to not deal with it. Clear line forwards, also fine. Okay, so maybe that's all. And so we can also do a test for this insert spaces version of it. So here, when we did our little test where we had this like 12 at, this like insert ASDF, ASDF, go back, insert 12 spaces. If we made our second ASDF here red, so you can say like, hey, make this red, and then reset the color here. So we can say escape E, reset color with an M. Cool. Maybe we'll even do yellow for 1, 2, 3, 4 or something. Okay. And then at the end of this, we have to reset everything again as well. Okay. So if we execute that same thing in my terminal emulator, git status, git add-u, git commit-m smiley face, and we're going to go back to origin master, just so I can execute that same thing and double check. I think that we're going to hit the same case where oh, fuck. We can't run this test because we don't support all the commands we need. God damn it. It's this go for backwards can just be replaced with go to an absolute critical position. There we go. Maybe position 5. Sick. Okay. So here, we're in the same case where before this red ASDF that got pushed to the right turned gray. That's wrong. And if we git checkout master, and we run that test again, we should see that the red ASDF pushes to the right and stays red. That's what I want to see. Hell yeah, baby. Look at that. It's also kind of surprising, like on resize, is it... I guess there's no actual like data changing here, unless I put the cursor somewhere else. But it does look like it's kind of working, which is kind of sick. Kind of sick. Okay. Now, often I come back and I write unit tests later and then find out that it's still broke, that like I broke, like there was edge cases that I didn't catch. Do I want to do that now? Or do I want to do that after stream? Let's see how, like, does this look like it's going to be fucking broken? Not too bad. 443. Let's at least fix these guys. So this is response now, not copy IDX. This is response dot right index. And I guess we can also just test the inserted padding here as well. So what did we do here? We had this guy before, ASDF 1, 2, 3, 4 ZXYW. So this was 3 lines of text, and it looks like this pad that we wrote was supposed to pad all in here, which means that we can just test that the inserted padding was from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 14, I guess, if we were inserting 10 characters. No, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Pad buffer for right. Width, height, right length. So if the right length is 10. Oh, because we're inserting 10 characters at position 4. Yeah, that seems fine. I don't know if that's going to pass, but we'll see. And then we need 443 as well. No. Oh yeah, is that the only one? Cargo test? Is that the only thing that doesn't work in our tests? That's a little concerning because we changed the return type of like something interesting. So his insertion is 4 to 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So why is he... This looks like a bug. Why am I testing this way? If I'm inserting 10 characters for writing, why am I inserting so many fucking spaces? I feel like I'm high. Cursor position, Y0, X8. Like, should this not be 4 less? Is this because my width, I'm wrapping from width, height, 10, 10? No, I don't see any reason for that to be a problem. I swear that's a bug. But I must have written it this way on purpose. Unless I just, like, looked at the output and copy-pasted it when I wrote the test. Like, I'm high. I must be. I'm missing something really obvious. Oh, I am. Okay. So this is ASDF \n, right? I'm inserting 10 spaces, but I'm inserting them at position 8. So I need to first pad in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need to pad in 4 spaces to get to position 8. Then I insert 10 characters. I see. So this being 4 to 18 is correct. Yeah. Cool. It's concerning that every other test just works, because that means that we aren't testing the, like, output of here. But I guess the output being the right index, we know that it's being propagated from pad buffer for right, so it's, like, fine. So this seems, like, reasonably, you know, we have, like, our... It's not thoroughly tested, but the test, you know, it is, like, a little bit tested. And so now we also want to test insert spaces, so... probably on these, we just also huck in insertion range. In insert spaces, is the insertion range ever not just the written range? I guess it is, because we might have had to pad to get to that point, where the written range only contains the spaces that they asked for, and the insertion range contains everything. Okay. I'm just going to leave that as a fixing right now. I don't really want to unit test that, but I do want to look at... in the terminal mod, when we call insert spaces, do I ever need to do both of these? Like, do I need to insert spaces with the current cursor? Yeah, I guess I do. Yeah, okay. I think that all makes sense. Because if I, like... Well, let's see. Let's actually test that. That's something important. So what I'm wondering is, if I ask for spaces, but with the background color set. So there's, like, a way where you can, like, in ANSI color codes, you can set the background color as well as the foreground color. And I don't know if when I insert a space with a background color, it should take the background color, right? So if I say, hey, I want my background to be red. So I say, you know, I say, what was it, 41? Let's make the background red, type ASDF, reset the color. Like this. Okay. Now I insert spaces. Those turn red as well. Okay, now I want to know what happens if I start with normal text, then put the cursor in background red mode, but instead of inserting spaces, I move the cursor down. Maybe I put a new line. That doesn't really count. I want to like execute like a cursor move. So maybe I say, hey, I'm gonna move the cursor 5 to the right. So those don't get, like those spaces that we inserted, they don't get coloring info. And now I also want to say, okay, I've moved the cursor 5 to the right. Now also give me 5 spaces that I can write into. Okay, so it looks like the insert spaces stuff never changes the coloring info, which means that in insert spaces, we should only ever push range adjustments. Because the actual coloring info will come in when they try to write text on top of that, I guess. Sure. And then we should rerun. We had some test case that we can run to double check that it's working correctly. I think it was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Oh, God. Yeah, it was this one. Okay, that's still working correctly. So this is, dude, I don't like that I can read this now, by the way. That like kind of makes me upset. But this says type ASTF in current color, change the text to red, type ASDF again. So that's like ASDF, ASDF like this, just like the second one's red. And then this says set the color to yellow, move the cursor to the 5th column, so after the F, and then insert 12 spaces and insert 1, 2, 3, 4. So that goes like ASDF, ASDF, goes to this column, inserts 12 spaces, and then inserts 1, 2, 3, 4 back here. But in yellow. And so that's still working, so I think that's fine. Way too many escape codes. Yeah, dude, for real. I wonder how long it will take for my like understanding of this to degrade to the point where I can't interpret it anymore. Is this just like stuck in my head forever now? I mean, like for the rest of time, am I going to be like writing terminal applications? And am I going to think it's reasonable to write code like this? Where like in my logger, I just like, when I put up my log strings, I'm just like, yeah, of course I just write x1b open brace 32 semicolon 1m debug. Of course, like, am I just gonna like accidentally start writing code like this for the rest of my life and all of my coworkers will hate me because I think it's normal? I hope not. I hope I forget. Okay. I think that we can call this done. Add distinction between insert and overwritten text. I think we can call that done. To some extent. I mean, I have to adjust some text, but some tests, not some text. But I'll do that off screen. And maybe we fold these down and say whip, 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 whip. And what is the whip? Gotta do a quick 033 open 2J on your brain. Dude, that's a really good one. That's maybe a 3J as well. Get the scrollback in there as well. Okay, so what is this? What do we even do? Insert fix color tracking when inserting text in middle of buffer, and then we'll say to do unit tests, baby. Okay. And maybe we'll branch that. Get checkout -b whip so I don't accidentally push this, and I'll get checkout master, get reset hard back 1 by 1. Oh fuck. It's okay. Get checkout this. And then whip already existed, so I get update refs heads whip head. There we go. Whew! That was scary. I almost lost some work. This reminds me of building a regex engine for fun, and goddamn, some of my regex patterns that I was testing against made me feel like I was using a regex as a programming language. Yeah, dude, I bet that would do it, right? That seems like something that's another one that's actually really useful. Because, like, I'm sure that I really don't understand, like, the vast majority of regexes, and it does seem like that's kind of like the same concept, where you're like, if I write one, then I have to. There's no choice. I have to get it. So, Yeah, that's a good idea. That might go on my list at some point. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to fix today was at some point in the past, we didn't support scrolling. We kind of just treated our visible area, we treated our like monitor like an infinitely long thing that had like some fixed width, right? And so when somebody said like move the cursor to 1 1, no matter what, it would go here. Even if like we could only see this much on the screen right now, the 1 1 would always go here. Now, at some point, we implemented scrollback and said, okay, 1 1 goes over here. And I think we just missed some cases where we forgot to make that adjustment. So, like, for example, I see here in clear forwards that we take the cursor position and we are manually using the cursor Y position directly in like the Y line ranges, which is just like totally fucking wrong. So I guess we can maybe test this in some way where we could do something like if I go like this and I say enter, 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 echo hello, enter, 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 and I say, hey, could we maybe set the cursor position to the top left of the screen, and then could we clear forwards, which I think is 1J, maybe. Nope. Reset or clear. Let's see if we, I forgot the escape code here, the open brace. Unhandled escape sequence 1. Escape. I have to look it up. I have to look it up. Clears part of the screen. 1 is the only one we don't support. 0 is clear from cursor on the screen, so it's 0. It's 0, 0, 0. So like this. Okay. So this is supposed to be move the cursor to the top left and clear forwards. Yeah, okay. So if I do that same test where I say bump, 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 echo test, bump, 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 we should see the echo test go away, and we see instead everything go away. And I'm pretty sure that if I were to do the same test in console, where we say echo dash E, go to the top left, and then clear forwards, we still have all this stuff in our scrollback, right? So I think that that's what we should see here. But here it's because we're using like the wrong thing. So I think we have a new function. It's like cursor to buff pause, and we can just use that. And this guy takes in the buff, the cursor pause, the width, and the height. And so he will do the conversion automatically. And so we go, womp, go away, you. And he returns an option of like the side, the location and the line that we're in. So we say like let sum buff pause nothing. Can I say like nothing? I don't care about the second half. So I think I don't care about the line range. I think. And if this is not okay, there's nothing here, we just say return. We didn't do shit. Now here we can just say truncate from buff pause onwards. And I think we're chilling there. So I think we can run that same test. Run that same test again. Where we womp 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 echo test bump 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 echo hello bump 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 bump. Okay, so now if I run this same clear command, we should only see things like from test onwards go away. instead we crashed. Very cool. Very fucking cool. So what the fuck happened there? It looked like the error was that our color info didn't match up. So here we say, hey, if we cleared forwards from this position, if it gave us a position that we were cleared from, which it should have, then we update that range that it contains the world for us. So I don't see a real reason why that would have been a problem. Truncate, this needs to be +1. Maybe? No. Get diff. Before, they truncated to clear pause and return clear pause. Yeah, I don't see a problem. This should be exactly the same. Cargo run, let's try it again. Byte index 26 is out of bounds of this guy. Oh, I see. I think I get it. I think I know what happened. So, our color trekking, he goes like this. So we have A, S, D, F, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I take this and then I truncate him, no, I don't really get it. I thought I got it. It felt like it was there, but as soon as I started talking, I got lost again. I think what we should just do is we just log the fucking data at the crash. So we can look at our GUI and we can say, hey, somewhere we try to well, maybe we just run right now with rust backtrace equals 1 and we'll see exactly the line. So we can do the same thing and he'll crash. Hey, nice project. When will you try to run nvenv on Termi? Oh, don't worry. I've tried and it doesn't work. So eventually we're going to have to work through that. So I think like probably we're going to go through bash and readline, try to get that working well. Once bash and readline work well, then we can go into fixing less. Because right now if I say like git log, oops, wrong terminal. Git stash cargo run. So one sec. I can prove it. If I type git log, one of the first things it says to me is, oops, git log. He says, hey, your terminal's not fully functional. So I want to fix that because I think that that will be important as well. And then I think that we can jump onto nvenv. Because right now, it kind of works, but then as soon as I start trying to like insert text, it's like fucking broken. Like, yeah, you know. But we'll see. I think that that's like, you know, once I get nvenv working, then I can like start dog fooding, which is like gonna be really nice. Really nice. I forgot to update the time here, but this was at some point before an hour and 13:45 in a stream. I forget what I was doing. I was trying to see, right, we have our backtrace somewhere of where our thing is crashing when we type the clear command now. Maybe it was like after I do this, clear? No, maybe clear wasn't right. Maybe it's the echo command I have to use. Oh, it gets stash pop. That's what it is. I was not in a good state. Not in a good state. So now if I just type clear, does it do it? No, if I start entering, then type clear, no, if I press enter and then that echo command, that does crash it. Okay. Good to know, good to know, good to know. So this is coming from... Jesus, look at that call stack. 70 deep. Holy. So this is probably add terminal data to UI at line 1230. Oh, this is in EGUI. Where's like our code? Somewhere we have our code. Oh, maybe the backtrace does. Oh, here. 456. Oh, that's just the start though. Run native, eGUI containers, term eGUI frame update as closure, GUI 407, 426, 322, aha, here we go. 291, this is the one I'm looking for. 291 and 340. Okay, so this is add terminal data UI, but I want to know which one. So 340 was the one above that. So this is looking at the visible data, not the scrollback. That's where this is happening. And so here we can say, maybe we log the canvas data and the format data associated with it. And that should give us a clue. So let's make it bigger. Clear. Add this stuff. Boom, 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 boom. And then echo. Okay. So when we echoed this shit, before we crashed, this is the last set of data we got. So 36, 32. I want to log it as a string so I can interpret it better. Okay. And do I have to type a bunch, or does it happen as soon as I type clear at all? No. Okay, so bigger text, please. Clear. Okay. And then echo. That's fine. I have to maybe jump down a bit, then echo. There we go. Now it crashes. Okay. And so what do we have? This is the text in our buffer. It says byte 37 out of bounds for that thing. And so here we can look for, where does 37 come into play? Here. So probably the length of this thing is 37, and we're just off by one here. We're saying go from 37 to the end of the world when it should be go to 36 to the end of the world, I guess. But I don't understand why that wasn't broken before. But I guess that makes sense. Just so we can go into clear forwards. And this is kind of saying that I should be going from, like, I should return buff pause. I'm truncating from here to here. Cursor to buff pause from the cursor pause. What did I change? So before, this is returning the range start plus cursor pause X, which is what I was doing before. Before I was using range start plus cursor pause X. But I was backing out if the X position was greater than the line range end, which I'm doing here still. If candidate pause is greater than range end, do nothing. Here I'm returning early if the Y position is not available. Which I think, oh yeah, here I'm just returning none if that's not available. So I really don't get it. Like, it almost seems like I need to do this, right? Like say, hey, return -1 for like where my last valid thing is. Which kind of makes it, well, I guess that makes it seem like if this is returning the last, like, correct position, then it's almost like this should be -1. Right? We're saying, hey, push from our last valid byte to the end of time. But what if there's stuff in there? It does seem like this is correct. It's like, hey, from outside the range to like the end of the world, Yeah, I think that's correct, which means that our GUI code should just handle that. When he tries to format stuff, he just needs to make sure that, let's see, can create terminal layout job. He gets the data, and then he iterates the format data, and if range.end is equal to usesize_max, then the end is this. And I guess we'll say if range.start is greater than data len, we can say warn invalid format data for text. And else if range start is equal to data.len, we just continue. Because this is like a normal case. The range start being 1 past the end of the buffer, reasonable. But if it's like really far past and it's a bug, that seems fine to me. And does that fix it? So what was the test again? We like go down here and then we just say echo this shit. Fuck. Attempted to subtract with overflow. What is happening? I really don't get it, but I guess we'll debug and find out. So we have this echo, he worked once, echo again, we crash, and the subtract with overflow is happening at 310 in clear forwards. In buffer. What the fuck? $310. There's no subtraction here. How could I possibly be subtracting with overflow here? Oh, I didn't save. Fuck. It's a hard life. It's a hard life sometimes. Okay, let's try it again. Enter, 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 enter. Echo. Fuck me. What's he complaining about now? Byte index 12 out of bounds, so he's not... he's still not fixed. So here we had 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ah, so there is just something at start 12 when there fucking shouldn't be. I guess maybe that this is a bug. Maybe saying push from where we cleared to the end of the world is not right, but let's see. Where did we clear from? Maybe this will give us some clues. Maybe. Maybe not. We'll see. So we increase the font size, we hit enter a bunch of times, we echo here, he crashes, and here we say that we were clearing from buff pause 6. And then it says byte index 6 is out of bounds. For 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 byte long string. Oh, but there's an extra... Okay, I think that there's a few things to think about here. I think, okay, we're off by 2. So I think what happens is we have ASDF \n, right? We return this to the GUI, but then the GUI tries to render this as ASDF here, and he's got an extra line at the bottom that shouldn't really be there. So he strips off the last new line. He turns this into this. So this becomes this. And then are we seeing our warning about invalid format data? Because we're off by 2 now. I see. I really don't understand why this isn't a bug right now. But here, I mean, we should also... We were trying to protect ourselves here, so we should be continuing here anyways, to at least avoid the crash. if chain can be rewritten with a match. Why would I do that? Oh, because they're saying I could use like if range start comp data len, and then I can like match this. And they're saying that I can say like, oh, if it's equal, ordering equal, if it's equal, then we do continue. But if it's greater, then we do this thing. Do they really, is this really considered more readable? Why doesn't it like that? Oh, because I didn't put a closing brace here. Like, is that really better than this? I guess it's like technically like one less computation, I guess. But like, I don't know. I'm not convinced that this, I guess it makes more sense. Yeah, okay. I'll take it. It's very rusty, which I don't know if is good or bad. Okay. I think we should at least not crash now. So we go down here and we echo this shit. And at least we don't crash, but also it's like clearly not correct, which is a little concerning. Why not? What is happening here? So we echo -e this thing. And now we have all of this shit still here. So I guess it's because the scrollback is now visible. What used to be in the scrollback is now on screen, but the cursor position didn't change. I think it's like we had like, maybe we draw it like this. So we had like $$, $$, $$ up here, then like some more down here, right? We say, hey, nuke these guys. These guys are gone, all gone now. There's nothing in the buffer there. And so like if you then say, well, my visible area is like the things that fit on screen, this whole, like all of this stuff kind of like slides into view now when it wasn't visible before. And so probably we need to make it so that when we clear forwards, the scrollback does not leak onto the screen. Wow, more complicated fix than I thought it would be. Right, so when we clear forwards, we need to ensure that the cursor position stays at the same buffer position. Cursor, new cursor pause must be same as old buffer pause. Or I guess, yeah, so we get the buffer position, and instead of truncating, maybe we truncate and then pad. Yes. That makes more sense. Oh, you're caught on wires, Oh no. Oh, is my stream down? No? Okay. There you go. Good girl. Yeah, it looks like internet's still up, so that's a good sign. I should really fix that fucking cable. It's probably kind of dangerous, but hasn't caused a major problem yet. Okay. Yeah, so what do we want to do here? We almost want to sidestep this whole thing. And we almost want to say, hey, here are the visible line ranges on our screen. Wouldn't it be better to slide the dollar signs up instead of erasing the visible ones? Well, but the thing that they're asking us to do is erase the visible ones. So they're asking, like, they're asking us to say, here's some stuff in the buffer. And you have like, you know, A, B, C, D, right down here or something. And they're putting the cursor in like a location, right? So they're putting the cursor like here. And they're saying like, hey, could you delete everything past this point? So like everything this way. And so like this CD does need to just like disappear. So we do need to delete that stuff, but we just need to make sure that everything that's like currently on screen stays in the same spot before that, right? So I think that what we just do is we go through each line and we delete all of the content in the line. So we could say like, cursor to buff pause. How do I want to do this? Maybe we get the buffer position. So maybe we do continue with using cursor to buff pause. And then maybe we delete everything but new lines in this whole area. So you have like self buff. Or maybe it's easier to truncate and add them back. That probably is easier. So maybe we can like buffer from buff pause onwards. Can we count items that match the criteria of find? Nope, you can't do it that way either because there's new lines are not the only reason we wrap. We might wrap because we hit ends of lines. So you almost like, say you had one really, really, really long line, right? You had something like this. This is like stored in our buffer as one extremely long line. But if we were to type clear from this point, we would have to keep the number of lines that this is for real. So we almost want to say, get visible line ranges, find buffer position for cursor, okay. Delete everything after buffer position, and then add new lines for number of visible line ranges removed. That seems reasonable to me. Okay. Okay, so we get the buffer position. Is it VT100 emulator? So I didn't really know what a VT100 is. I still don't really know. I just know that I'm trying to do a terminal emulator, and that sometimes that runs me into VT100 docs. Because, like, for example, I noticed that in less, it sends this, like, weird command to, like, enter application mode. And the only thing that I could find on that was this, like, dec ckm command, which is like a private mode that isn't like defined by the the terminal emulator standard, but it is one that like every single terminal emulator that I've used uses. And so this is like a VT100 private instruction, but I've implemented it. So long-winded way of saying, like, is it a VT100 emulator? Like, kinda, maybe, I guess. Like, I'm just trying to make applications work, man. Okay. So maybe we split a function here. We say, cursor to buff pause from visible line ranges. What a name for a function. But I'm essentially just trying to abstract out this second half of this guy so that I can keep the visible line ranges locally. I only have to calculate them once. Which means that this guy now is going to be a pain because he's going to say, I don't have those things. So I'm going to say, well, cursor pause. is this, right? And visible line ranges is whatever the output of this guy is. I think it's a vec of range, I think. Vec range usize, I think. And maybe we'll even put them in a slice, because I don't think we need the vector here. And he returns option of usize and range usize, like this. Okay. And so then here I can say, hey, cursor to buff pause from visible line ranges. And pass in the cursor, pause, and visible line ranges. Great. Which means that now I can just copy paste all this, which isn't really great, but it's fine. And when we say clear forwards, we're going to go boom. We need to pull out this part here where we say, hey, we're going to extract the stuff. Otherwise, return none. Okay. And now we have the visible line range that we can work with here, which is going to be useful in some way. What does that fix me? Cursor pose must be same as the lower pause. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's what we're fixing now. So this is self buff, self width, self height. Okay. And okay, so we have visible line ranges. Find the buffer position for the cursor. Those two things are done. Now we just delete everything after buff pause. Okay. So we just say buff pause truncate. Okay. And then add new lines for the number of visible line ranges removed. Okay. So for line in visible line ranges, if line end is greater than buff pause, we self buff append a new line to make up for the one that we deleted. Push. And I wonder if that would do it. Maybe I'll leave those comments in for a little bit because I want to reference them. But I think that might do it. So font size increase, enter, echo hello. So we have a reference point. So that should be in the scrollback towards the end. And now I say, go back to the beginning of the line and clear everything forward. Scrollback is still looking pretty good. There is an extra new line that I'm not liking here. So here we're pushing all of the new lines for any line we deleted, but maybe we shouldn't do it for like the last line, if that makes sense. Like we have, because we want to write, if we push a new line, oh, maybe that's fine. Let's think. Do we need to update the cursor position now? I guess if we say like buff to cursor pause, and we pass in buff, and what do they pick in? Width and height and buff pause. We kind of want to say that this should be the same. So this guy should be the cursor pause. Nothing should have moved. And if it did move, then we've made a fucking mistake. Can't apply equals equals operation, probably to, maybe I need to dereference the cursor pause like this. No. Buff to cursor pause, what does he return? Result. Ah. So we want this, it should be like okay, like this. What is it like? Result. Invalid buff pause. Oh, maybe if let okay. What a pain in the ass. Oh, because this guy doesn't, the error doesn't implement equal, so we can't equal on the result. Cannot move out of this, so we just type clone here instead. Okay. Now we run this same thing. We try it again. Font size, bigger, spaces, echo test. Push that off the edge. make sure that he's actually off. Yeah, he is. Okay. So then we, oh God, where is that disaster of a command? Is it this? Yes. Okay. So it did, fuck me, man. Ah, okay. So here we are sometimes ending up one line too low. Why would that be? Why would we be ending up a line too low for the cursor? Like, it has to do with this, for sure. If the end of the line is greater than the buff pause, then we need a new line because we pushed one there. Okay. I don't see the problem. Oh, because the buffer position is the new line? What am I missing? What am I missing? So, if we were on screen, we truncate to the buffer position. Great. Reasonable. Anything after where the cursor is gone. Then we say, hey, if there was a line end after our current position, and add a new line. So that should only affect after the cursor. So what's the problem? Right, we have, well, first let's just run that echo command. So he is now saying I have new line followed by $ thing, which is not correct. I wonder if the cursor position is like not on the left of the thing. So like if my cursor position was at the new line and then I tried to insert this $ thing, like why is that? Ooh, okay, let's see what Bash is sending me. That might give me a clue. So let's go to the GUI and stop spamming us. And we can say, hey, I want to see what is being sent to us from Bash when I execute this. Here, echo. Okay, so we echo that thing. So here, we echo the thing, and then Bash sends us a carriage return, new line, some shit, carriage return, some shit, clear. So here's the clear that it's sending us. Okay. So after the clear, he sends us carriage return, new line. Oh, I mean, if Bash is sending me a new line, then it's reasonable that I get a new line. Oh, because it's the echo command. God damn it. God damn it. Okay, so if I run like the same thing, but I say echo-ne, now it's in the right spot. Okay, I'll take that. And then was there a crash that we were seeing somewhere? That seems fine. Yeah, maybe it's fine. I just forgot. So echo by default appends a new line, and so like it was getting to the end of the like clear command and then putting in a new line before showing the new thing. I'm okay with this. That seems right. This is like at the top of the visible segment. Yeah, I don't know. That seems okay. That seems okay. I'll take it. Okay, was there more that was using... So we fixed clear forwards, but we need to look for if there's anybody else who's doing stuff relative to the cursor pause manually. Like this, for example. Append new line at end. Who the fuck uses this? Append new line at end. New line at line end. This comes from here. So when they pass in a new line, we make sure that there's a new line at the line end. I see. And so this guy should also just be using... This guy should also be using the visible location. So he can say, let some buff pause line range is equal to cursor to buff pause. With self buff, cursor pause, self width, self height. Else return. That's the same as before. New line pause is going to be look at the buffer. Skip to the line range start. Yep, blah, blah, blah. I think this is the same, but how do we test this? How do we test this? The top line is fine when the program starts, but it shifts after the clear, it seems. Let's take a look at that. By fine, do you mean like kind of like aligned with the top of the terminal? But then if I clear, I think it's that it's after scrollback, right? It's here. The scrollback is leaking in, which I think is that reasonable? I think it is, right? Because like as I go down, right, this like stuff is in scrollback, and like the scrollback is showing like half a character into screen. I guess when I resize in Alacrity, it only shows in increments of one line. Right? Like I can't ever get half a thing on there. It's just kind of like expanding. What about like in console? Yeah, it does look like they expand off the bottom and then jump down. Okay. I'll put that as like resize should only work in increments of one car. It's a good point. Good point. Good point. So I think this is right now, but I have like no way. I don't know how to prove it. I guess it's just as simple as it should be as simple as cargo run, and if I say like echo dash n backslash r backslash n, that should. Oopsies, I need to maybe dash e that. Okay. So that should that's the purpose of like append new line and end. It's like the carriage return puts the cursor at the beginning, but the new line should be injected at the end of the line. So there needs to be some sort of way. Maybe I make this a little bit smaller. Then it was broken because the cursor position was tracked relative to the beginning of the buffer. Oh yeah, so is there ever a point where you have to change the default font size so you don't have to change it on launch every time? Well, but like, so I guess I should just save whatever the last one was, because I feel like 12 is like a totally reasonable default font size, right? I think making the default font size like 30 is like super unreasonable, but I like it to be 30 because it's on stream. So really I should just save whatever the last one was. And there probably will be a point where I do that. But I don't know if it's now. Okay. So if I stash, well, what's in the stash right now? Oh, fuck, that's a lot of stuff. But that's okay. Git stash. And I cargo run. I think that I should be able to trigger a failure of some sort by having some stuff in the scrollback. And then just doing an echo dash any test rn. That's not causing problems like I thought it would, which is kind of interesting. Kind of feels like there's not a bug there. But then why not? Why not? Oh. Because it's only if there's a new line at the end already. I see. So it's actually, I have to be a little more clever with this. It's only, so right now there's no new line at the end of the line. So an RN won't like do anything crazy. But if I go back a line, then there will be. And so like, what is the expected behavior? That's not console. Hello, console. If I say something like echo ASDF RN 1 2 3 4 RN. Okay, so let's do with -e with escapes. Okay. Let's say that we don't want new lines appended at the end. And then let's say maybe we say ASDF XYW. We go up a line after the 1 2 3 4. Or maybe we leave it like this. We go up 2 lines here. So we say escape, go 2 up, and write 1 2 3 4. So that should overwrite the ASDF. Oops, and then we have to go back 2 down. And maybe go back to the beginning of the line. Okay. So that overwrites the ASDF with a 1 2 3 4. And now I want to see if we do an RN here, what the fuck happens? And then maybe we say ASDF here. Okay. Nothing crazy. And if we do a new line without a \r, it's the same. Interesting. Interesting. Which kind of makes me think that the like behavior of new line just jumping down without. Right now we're kind of handling new line as like a just straight vertical move. Oh, but it looks like it's not. Looks like it's not. And it also looks like I'm having trouble. Oh wait, let's try the same thing in my terminal and see if it does something different. That's what we were. I got distracted. So we were in console here, and we just want to say, can we do like the same fucking shit? Oh, we can't do the same shit because we don't support the same cursor moves. Oh, my life is so hard. Okay. We can just reconstruct something very similar, I guess. Echo-en ASDF Z XYW RN 1 2 3 4. Great. RN. And now here he's trying to go up 2 lines. So that we'll just replace with an absolute cursor move. So we'll say go to line 2, column 0. And then type 1 2 3 4, and that should replace the ASDF with a 1 2 3 4. Fuck. Subtract with overflow at terminal emulator line 436. Oh, because I fucking did 0 in fucking. I should validate these inputs, but I don't. Okay, so it's 1 index for cursor movements, not 0 indexed. I keep forgetting. So it's 1 2. Over it with 1 2 3 4, and then go back down to 1 4. Okay, clear. Do that again. Okay, cool. So now we're at the point where we've overwritten the ASDF with a 1 2 3 4, and then we say new line, ASDF again. Okay. Oopsies, clear. Let's try it again. Okay. Yeah, okay, so everything is kind of just seems to be correct. I don't really see a problem with any of this here. So we did something crazy. What did we do here? We did carriage return, new line, 1, 2, 3, 4, carriage return, new line, move back, replace 1, 2, 3, 4, new line, ASDF. Yeah, I don't really see any problem anywhere. It could be that this append new line with at line end is like kind of dead code. Because I think no matter what, we inject a new line at the line end all the time. Like all of our tests, they say like, hey, could you write this string, like 1, 2, 3, 4, end with a 9, and then at the end, every time we insert, we end up with like a new line at the end anyways. So unless we clear forwards, but now we clear forwards and path new lines. So I think it's literally like irrelevant. I think there's like no way to trigger this like failing code path. But I do think it's still more correct this way. So I think I will maybe leave the change in, even though we have no way to really test it. And I think that's it for like the using scrollback relative movement instead of visible relative movement. So I think that's good. Kind of happy there. Good enough. Good enough. So I think that we spotted a few bugs along the way. But I also think that we don't expect a terminal emulator to be perfect yet because it's shit and new, and there's a lot that we don't support. So I think I'm kind of happy with what we got through today. We kind of fixed some bugs related to clearing forward. I think works better now, as well as what was the other thing? Color tracking. So that test where we like inject. Well, I wonder if we can find it again, just to prove that it's still there. It was like something like echo. Oh geez. Echo. We can look for maybe like the @ symbol is what we're looking for in here. Maybe it's easier to do like history grep 12 @ or something. Hey, yeah, we actually got it. Oh, but I can't copy paste. So it's okay, we'll just retype it. Fuck. What did I get wrong in here? Somewhere a 3M. Escape 31M. Escape. Oh, here. I forgot the open brace. There we go. So this test of like we insert ASDF, then red ASDF, and then inject a yellow 1, 2, 3, 4 in the middle, that works now. Great. As well as that clear command being improved. So good progress for the day. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you saw, I stream most days at around 1 or 2 o'clock Pacific time for around 1 or 2 hours. We're working on this terminal emulator right now. We're going to keep working on this as long as I'm interested. There might be a point in time where I just go like, man, I don't care anymore, in which case we'll work on something else. And so, we do a variety of things like with, some 3D operating systems, AI, terminal emulator, Linux, webcam, just kind of like, we've hit a lot, and it's just kind of like whatever is interesting. So check out the YouTube if you want to see other videos on the same topic or on different topics. If you miss a stream, all VODs will go up to YouTube probably within the same day. There's GitHub in the Twitch description as well. That code ends up at usually a little prettied up. And if you're watching on YouTube, you should swing by on Twitch, say hi. I think that's it. Oh, I guess I might not stream tomorrow. I might. I'm not really sure. It's going out for my birthday tonight. It's not my birthday today. Don't try to figure out my birthday. But it's a thing tonight. So I don't know if I'm going to be like mentally there tomorrow morning. But if I am, then we'll stream. And if I'm not, then I'll see you Tuesday. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!